Let's go back to verse 25. No one understand this from the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes. There will be 7 sevens. Okay? It continues and says there will be 62 sevens. It will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, but in times of trouble. After the 62 sevens, the anointed one will come. And after this, the anointed one will be cut off, and he will have nothing. The people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end will come like a flood. War will continue until the end, and desolations have been decreed. Then verse 27, it says, he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7, and in the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. All right, let's go back and have a look at this. We can see, first of all, it talks about 7 sevens. 7 sevens are 49, absolutely. And then it talks about 62 sevens. Let's have a look. From 457 BC, we'll zoom in, get a little closer. 7 sevens, 49. And that will take us, I didn't work out the year, but we think that that's probably the decree went out to rebuild Jerusalem. That's probably when Jerusalem was rebuilt. And then it said there will be 62 sevens, and that takes us another 434 years. And if we do the calculation and we do the math, we realise that that takes us down to 27 AD. And you'll notice that in the prophecy here, it says this is when the anointed one, the ruler, comes. Which is interesting to me, because if you stop and work it out, and you read passages in Luke and in Matthew, you realise that in 27 AD, that is the time when Jesus was baptised. And you remember when Jesus was baptised, heaven opened and a dove descended. It was as if Jesus was anointed. This is incredible stuff. Remember how much this was written in the past, yet this prophecy is telling us about Jesus. And it says he will come, and he came right on time. It's all about the Messiah. Okay? Let's continue on. The rest of the text there talks about the end will come like a flood. It talks about the Jews and how they were rejected. It talks about the destruction of Jerusalem, which happened in AD 70. Let's go back to Daniel 7 verse 29, 9 verse 27, because this is amazing. It says this, he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offerings. We've talked about that before tonight, I'm sure. But anyway, let's go back to our little diagram. So here we have, after the 27, there will be 1 7. And what's it says in the middle of the 7? What's the middle of 7? What's half of 7? 3.5. So here we have, in the middle of 7, we'll have 3.5 years, 3.5 years. And so if we add the middle of 7, 3.5, 3.5, basically we get to 31 AD. What does the prophecy say will happen in 31 AD? The anointed one will be cut off, and he will have nothing. That's above. It says in verse 27, he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7, and in the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. Do you remember what we said, what it meant, put an end to sacrifice and offering? What was it? Jesus dying on the cross. But hang on, this is written hundreds of years before the event. How could Daniel know? How could Daniel know in this vision that it predicts exactly when the Messiah would come? Exactly, right down to the very year. It predicted when he would be anointed, and it predicted when he would come, and it predicted when the gospel would continue to go out to all the Gentiles. Every single part of this prophecy, it's come true. And it was predicted by Daniel hundreds and hundreds of years before. Daniel 9 verse 27 has definitely been fulfilled. Now, you remember when Russell was here, he was talking about something else. He might have seen these kind of things before. Because he was talking about this theory called the secret rapture theory. And this is a theory when Christ takes his people, those who belong, they secretly rapture away to heaven. Then there'll be 3.5 years, a time of second chance, and then the coming of the Antichrist will come, and then there'll be another 3.5 years, war with the Antichrist, and then as the theory goes, Christ will return to earth, and then we'll go from there. You see what that's done to this prophecy? It has substituted Christ for an Antichrist. Can you see how dangerous believing something like this is? Because this is kind of saying, well, hang on, judgment kind of happens after Jesus comes and takes his people away. Whereas the Bible is pretty clear in saying, no, judgment is happening before them. It's happening before them. And that is why this is a very dangerous thing to have a look at. When you misunderstand what the prophecy is saying and people think we have a second chance. We have a second chance. The message is we need to get our lives ready and they need to get ready for Jesus whenever he comes. So now all we need to do is to work out, remember we've only done the first half of the prophecy. All we simply need to do is go from 457 and add 2,300 years minus the year 0, and then we'll work out what the Bible says when the heavenly sanctuary will begin to be cleansed. When God is starting to put into action his judgment, his justice. When God is beginning to start to answer the souls of those who are under the altar. And when you look at this and when you do the calculation, it's pretty simple. It comes down to around the year 1844. And so between that time and the second coming, it's the hour of the judgment. It's the time of the end. It's the time when we need to make sure that we are at one or right with God. Remember what the judgment was all about? Remember what it says? It's against the powers that persecuted God's people, but it's for the saints. It's for the saints. Who are the saints? They are the ones who